Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. Well, today I wouldn't use the word I'm excited. I would say I would use the word surprised that I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on this title from the Criterion Collection. And I'll say surprised because I had no plans on picking up this release in the month of July during this month's sale. I had planned on putting this off to November, putting it off to maybe next year, putting it off to maybe never. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick up this title or not, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. I trust Criterion when it comes to blind buys, so I'm going to put that to the ultimate test, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up Pink Flamingos, the 1972 film from John Waters, and I can say that I'm glad that I picked up this title. I watched this film the other night. I sat down and watched it, popped it in the player, just went ahead and just said, you know what, let me just get this shock value over with. And I sat down and I watched this movie. Wow. John Waters is the king of shock cinema. Okay, you will get that when you see this film. I have a couple of his other films in my collection as well. Polyester, as well as the other is escaping my mind. I don't quite have Multiple Maniacs yet. I might end up picking that up. But this is probably his most notorious and most controversial film. It's from 1972. It's called Pink Flamingos, and this film stars Divine. Of course, Divine was played by a man named Glenn Milstead. I believe he died in 1988, but Glenn Milstead appeared as Divine in this film and many films from John Waters. You also had David Lochary, who played Raymond Marble in this film, and Mink Stole, who played Connie Marble in this film. They're the rival couple in this film going up against Divine and her family. You also had Vivian Pearce, who played Cotton. When I saw this film, of course, I was absolutely shocked. I was mortified. I was repulsed. All the offensive words that you can think about. I felt all of those things watching this film. I was absolutely shocked and just taken aback at some of the content that is in this film. I won't go into the details of it. Just know that it is one of the most shocking, repulsive, and repugnant types of displays you will ever see in cinema. So I watched the film, and then I went through the supplemental package for this release in the Criterion Collection. And I gotta tell you, I was at first hesitant to pick up this title, but those supplemental features really did an amazing job of contextualizing this film, really telling you a whole lot about John Waters as a filmmaker, about Divine, the character, the man who played Divine, and the other characters who played in this film. And you learn so much about the history of Pink Flamingos, its notorious history, and the features just are one of the best supplemental packages that I've seen from Criterion in a long time, and makes me actually glad that I picked up this edition. So the film is repulsive, but this overall package, and this is actually, packaged as a package. So in the film, the characters mail a package. And so you see this design here on this slip cover. We don't get a lot of slip covers from Criterion. So this is one of those rare slip covers from the Criterion Collection. It is a package that is being mailed to Babs Johnson in a trailer outside Baltimore, Maryland. So that's part of the action in this movie. This movie, let me just give you a quick summation of what this film is about. So Divine is playing Babs Johnson. She is hiding out. She's underground for some criminal activity. So she's having to hide out and lay low. She's living in a trailer out in Baltimore, in the outskirts of Baltimore. This trailer is now burning. That's part of what goes on in this film. But she lives in a trailer in the outskirts of Baltimore with her mother. Her mother in this film is played by an actress named Edith Massey. So Edith Massey worked in a diner at the time, and she was brought on to play her mother, Edith Massey. You have her son who was in this film. He was played by, who played her? Oh, Danny Mills. Danny Mills played her son. So she's hiding out in this trailer with her mother, her son, and also Cotton, who was played by Vivian Pearce. So the four of them live in this trailer in the outskirts of Baltimore, and Divine is known in tabloids as the filthiest person alive. So she holds the title of being the filthiest person alive, the most vile, wretched person in the world. Of course, that is much to the chagrin of the other characters in this film, played by David Lochary and Mink Stole, who play Raymond and Connie Marble. They live in a house on another part of the city, in another part of the Baltimore metropolitan area, and they catch wind that Divine has this title. They see her in the papers, and they are livid because they feel like they should be the filthiest people alive. They are running an operation in their home that I won't describe. It is beyond sick. So I will let you sort of read that yourself, but they consider themselves the filthiest people alive, and they go out on a quest to go up against Divine and prove that they are the filthiest people alive. So it's a battle between the Marbles and Divine, playing Babs Johnson, of who is the filthiest person alive. And when you see the crazy acts that are played out in the different vignettes in this film, it is like going from one shock scene to the next shock scene in this movie. John Waters takes the shock meter, it blows it way past 10 to like 11, 12. There's some incredibly shocking and offensive content in this movie that I definitely have to warn you about. So it is an exercise in poor taste. This is in color. And this is the outside wrapping here. So it's wrapped like a package, which I thought is just brilliant. It is so perfect for this film because that's part of the movie. You see a scene with them sending a package in the post office. It's fantastic. And then of course you have your disc case here. You have Divine, and you have this cute little dog here. Yeah, this cute little dog. Very important part of this story. I won't spoil those, but many of you probably know the significance of this particular dog. But it's a nice looking portrait of Divine in the dog there. And on the back, you see, of course, it's got John Waters, says born 1946, and Pink Flamingos 1972. So I think that's really cool. It says 16 millimeter Ektachrome. So it says 16 millimeter Ektachrome, which is really important with this film because in this case, and you'll see that it described in here, John Waters kept this film on his original 16 millimeter reels. He kept it in his attic or his basement or what have you. So Criterion, I believe they took that and restored that actual original material, and I thought got very good results on this transfer. If you look on the inside here, you'll see Pink Flamingo on the inside here. Of course, you have a regular white on the inside, but let's take a look at what's contained in here. So it's pristine, beautiful white, just clean, just perfect, right? For this film. Doesn't seem to be fitting for the film, but I think that's intentional. You get this barf bag here, which you might actually have to use watching this film. I mean, there is a possibility that you may need to use this while you're watching this film. That's how gross some of this content is. And then on the inside, look at what you get. Wow, look at this. This is exclusive photos of Divine, the filthiest person alive. See the back here? Isn't this crazy? It's like a tabloid paper. Says, what makes gamblers always lose? But you get some really interesting photos here. You get a nice essay in here, which is really, really great. An essay that tells you a lot about Divine, tells you a lot about Pink Flamingos itself, John Waters. And that's one of the things I really gathered from this overall release was you learn so much about John Waters, so much about Divine, in ways that before I knew anything about the contents of this release and I just heard about the film itself, I thought to myself, there's no way I would buy that. Why would I buy that? But when you go through the supplemental features, you really get a great understanding of John Waters, the filmmaker, and Divine, and it really contextualizes this crazy film in a way that surprised and blew my mind, and it really just reinforced in my mind why I trust Criterion for blind buys. And it just gives you a lot of insight into why would Criterion release a film like this? Why would they do that? Well, when you go through the supplemental package, it gives you a greater appreciation for that. Now, I will tell you, it doesn't make you love the film, because I don't think it's possible to love Pink Flamingos. It doesn't make you like the film, because I don't think that's possible either. But it just helps you to, it helps to contextualize it and put it into perspective, and really understanding the filmmaker, understanding his intent, which in one of the supplements, somebody asked John Waters, hey, you know, what is your message in this film? What are you trying to say to the audience? And I think this sums it up perfectly. John Waters said, my film doesn't really have a message. I'm just trying to shock people. And when you see this film, you will understand that. That's all he's trying to do, is just shock the characters, shock the audience. He's not trying to present a story with any redeeming value whatsoever. He's just trying to shock the audience. And this film does that like no other. So I'll read here the transfer. It says, Pink Flamingos is presented in director John Waters' preferred aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1. Unlike original elements for some of Waters' other early films, which were stored in a state-of-the-art climate-controlled vault by Warner Brothers, the 16mm Ektachrome positive scanned for this release was kept in his attic for the past 5 decades, 50 years. So this film is 1972, this is 2022, and it is the same film that Waters originally hot spliced and edited to make the movie. So you do see that as well. You see John Waters' filmmaking process in the special features. And I found that to be incredibly fascinating, how he, actually, where he did his editing up in the attic of one of the houses, and how, where they watched the dailies when they were making this film. Just an incredible, incredible set of supplements for this release from the Criterion Collection. And part of what makes this one of the more impressive overall releases of the year with those supplements. So just amazing. Let me talk for a second about the picture quality of this release. This picture, they restored the original 16mm Ektachrome reel or print from John Waters that he had in his attic for the past 50 years. And the results were very, very good. This is a top-notch picture quality. Of course, this film being shot on 16mm, being shot handheld, is shot intended, and given the content of the film itself, is shot to provide a gritty, grungy kind of look. But this restoration of this film makes this film look absolutely fantastic. Given the materials that were worked with, Criterion did a beautiful job restoring this image in a way that beautifully preserves the intended look of the film and makes it just look fantastic. It's not a beautiful film, but it looks clean and nice in this new presentation. I mean, the film has been cleaned up beautifully. The grain is resolved nicely, and you just see this film looking the way it was intended to look, and it looks fantastic and beautifully restored for this 50-year-old film. So from a video standpoint, looks absolutely fantastic. It's a 4K digital restoration that Criterion did. John Waters supervised that restoration. You also get an uncompressed monaural soundtrack, so the sound is also very, very good. So I thought it sounded great. It's not the most state-of-the-art sound mix in the world, but the sound came across very effectively, and I thought it worked with this overall presentation. But let's talk for a second about these amazing special features, because it's these amazing special features that really, really make this release one of the best releases of the year so far. I'll just go ahead and say that, and I am shocked to be even saying that. But you get a commentary on here. You get 2 commentary tracks that feature John Waters. One is an older track from 1997, and the other one is from 2001. Excellent commentaries from John Waters. You get on here Divine Trash, which is an amazing documentary that I really, really just got a lot out of. It's like it's a feature-length documentary, so it's a length of, it's actually longer than the movie itself. It's a 97-minute documentary that, you get to see a lot of the characters. John Waters, of course, Mink Stole, Mary and Vivian Pearce, who played Cotton, Divine, of course, Glenn Milstead, David Lochary, who played one of her rivals in this film. I keep forgetting their names, Raymond and Connie Marble. So, Raymond Marble, David Lochary, Vincent Periano, producer John Pearson, actor Steve Buscemi. So you hear from Steve Buscemi, his perspective in here. You hear from Jim Jarmusch, Herschel Gordon Lewis, Paul Morrissey. Several other filmmakers and actors give their thoughts and their perspectives on John Waters, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. This feature here, Location Baltimore, is an amazing supplement on this release because it has John Waters driving around different locations of Baltimore, talking about the film, revisiting locations that were actually in the film. And he goes to the actual place where this trailer sat. He goes to that property that it sat, and he has a sit-down interview that Criterion filmed with the new owners, with the current owners of that property. So they talk about, of course, they know that this notorious film was shot on their property, and there's a story behind that. I think they said they saw the film, or that maybe the husband saw the film, but they talk about, the whole story around, living on the property that the film was shot at. And then they go out with a metal detector to figure out, okay, where was the trailer actually at? John Waters had an idea in his mind of where the trailer was, and they get a metal detector to try to figure out, okay, where was the trailer likely buried? Because of course it was burned in the film, and it's likely that it was just buried on the property there rather than being towed off perhaps. But that supplement, Location Baltimore, amazing supplement. So John Waters talks to the people who live on the property where the trailer was, and he also goes and speaks to the gentleman who lives in the house that Raymond and Connie Marble were in the film. So they were the rivals of Divine. They were trying to be the filthiest people alive. So you see a lot of their house and their basement where some of their wicked activity was going on. I won't get into the details of it, but you see the Marble's house. And so he goes to that house, which is still standing, and talks to the current owner of the house. And in this case, he hadn't actually seen the film, but he knows about the film. And that is just an amazing, amazing supplement. Location Baltimore. John Waters going back to Baltimore to the locations where Pink Flamingo was filmed. It's just amazing. Of course, most of, if not all of John Waters' films are based in Baltimore. I believe he's from Baltimore. Divine and several of the characters were Baltimore people. So you get that from the supplements as well. So again, this was filmed earlier this year in celebration of the 50th anniversary of Pink Flamingos. Just an excellent release. You get the 25th anniversary, footage from 1997 of Pink Flamingos, which is fantastic. So you see an older interview with John Waters. You get outtakes, you get a trailer. And interestingly enough, the trailer, when you watch the trailer, it's a classic example of course, many trailers are guilty for giving away too much of the film. The good thing about the trailer for Pink Flamingos is that you don't see any footage of the film itself. It just talks around the film and talks about different things, and it doesn't really show you anything about the movie, which is probably for the best. It's probably wouldn't be able to show anything in the trailer for this movie. That's how bad it is. But yeah, the trailer is great to see that. But the overall supplemental package is just amazing for this release in the Criterion Collection, and it is the reason to get this release. So if you decide to get this release, get it for the supplemental package. This is the type of film that you might see once, like one and done. That might be the case for me, although I may rewatch it. I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet. But it might be a one and done, just seeing the film and getting that initial shock out of the way. But then going through the supplements and just being blown away by the incredible package they put together that really contextualizes this film in a beautiful way. But in this, you do get an essay called The Battle of Filth from Howard Hampton. which is a great essay. So highly recommended. And I love this insert that is in this release. Absolutely fantastic. It looks like a tabloid magazine, very similar to what you actually see in the film. And the Marbles are reading from this tabloid, and they get jealous that Divine is considered the filthiest person alive, and they go about trying to prove to the world that no, they are the filthiest people alive. So that's the general premise of this film, is who is the filthiest person alive. So John Waters, Pink Flamingos. Do I recommend this edition? I would say that if you are interested in learning more about John Waters as a filmmaker, if you want to know what is all the hubbub about of this film, you want to learn more about just this overall world of shock cinema, this is definitely a worthy release to pick up. Now, I will tell you right off the bat, I'm going to warn you, this is an incredibly shocking film, okay? It has some very offensive content in it. But if you can get past that and watch the supplements of this film, it will give you a greater appreciation for this area of cinema, John Waters filmmaking. It'll also shed a lot of light on Divine Glenn Milstead, the person. One of the great things about the supplements that are on here is that you do hear not only from John Waters and Divine themselves, but you hear from both of their parents. So you hear from John Waters' parents, them talking about his upbringing and kind of what motivated him to get into filmmaking and what his interests were when he was younger and what led him to make these films. It just gives you so much insight into John Waters, the filmmaker. So I really appreciated that. And you also learn a lot about Glenn Milstead, the man who played Divine. Divine was John Waters' muse in so many films like Multiple Maniacs, Polyester, Pink Flamingos, and other films. And you learn a lot about who he was, and you hear from his parents as well. So just incredibly insightful supplements is really the reason to buy this release from Criterion. Again, like I said from the beginning, this was one that I was gonna wait for November or may not have ever picked up this title, but I decided to go ahead and take the plunge, and I can honestly say, I'm glad I did. So Pink Flamingos, if you are up for the challenge, comes recommended. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this film. Let me know what you think about this movie. Let me know what you think about John Waters, the filmmaker, and what do you think of shock cinema. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below, and let me know, did you have to use the barf bag for any element of this film? Let me know that in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.